Hello, welcome to our continuing devotional through Philippians. We're currently in Philippians chapter 2, and I think we'll finish that chapter today, starting in verse 25, where Paul says this: I have thought it necessary to send to you Epaphroditus, my brother and fellow worker and fellow soldier, and your messenger and minister to my need, for he has been longing for you all and has been distressed because you heard that he was ill. Indeed, he was ill, near to death. But God had mercy on him, and not only on him, but also on me also, lest I should have sorrow upon sorrow. I am more, I am the more eager to send him, therefore, that you may rejoice at seeing him again, and that I may be less anxious. So I receive him in the Lord with all joy and honor such men, for he nearly died for the work of Christ, risking his life to complete what was lacking in your service to me. Now Epaphroditus was somebody that the church at Philippi knew. He had been a member there, a servant there, maybe even a pastor there, and he had been sent in this very difficult, long journey, very dangerous journey, with some resources for the Apostle Paul. And so he had arrived there, but in the process of going there and upon his arrival there, he had run into some problems and had become quite ill. And somehow, some way, the church at Philippi knew that he was ill, but they didn't know what the outcome was. And to keep in mind, this is in a day when the news is hard to come by. It's not very quick, and where many people died of illnesses. And this is their friend. This is their brother. This might even be their pastor, and they're very concerned for him. So Paul's writing them a letter, and he says, listen, Epaphroditus, he's my brother. Verse 25, he's my fellow worker. He's a soldier for you. He's been your messenger. He's been my minister, and I'm going to send him back. Despite all the benefit that he gives to me, I know you're worried about him. I know you heard that he was ill, and I know that you're not going to be comforted until you see him face to face. And Paul says, listen, verse 27, you heard he was ill. Well, he was very ill. He was near to death, but God had mercy on him by healing him, but God had mercy on me by not taking him. Paul knows it could have went a different way. Paul did not have some kind of guarantee that nobody in his life that he prayed for would ever die. Uh, God does heal, but that doesn't always turn out to be the case. And we know that Paul was not certain what the outcome would be with Epaphroditus, but he's grateful that God graciously gave Epaphroditus more time and that he did not die, because that would have been grievous to Paul. Even though Paul knew that Epaphroditus would be in heaven, he still would have grieved over that death because that's his friend. That's his co-worker. He would miss him. He'd be separated from him for a time. But now Paul says, verse 28, I'm more than eager, the more eager to send him back, that you may see him, and you may rejoice at seeing him healthy, just as I've been able to see him healthy, and also so that I may be less anxious, he says at the end of verse 28 there. Paul would be less anxious because he knows he would have a solid, faithful Christian leader who's there to watch over the church at Philippi and the Christians at Philippi. He knows how easy it is for immature Christians to get led astray, for Christians who are under threat to give in to that fear. And he wants somebody there who's going to kind of give them a word of encouragement, a word of instruction, a word of correction. And he says, I'll just be more comfortable knowing that he's there to kind of watch over you guys and make sure you stay on the right path. And then he says, listen, when you receive him, verse 30, receive him in the Lord with all joy and honor such men. When you have people who, like Epaphroditus, are faithful, are willing to risk their lives for the work of Christ, who actually put feet to their faith and go out and do the hard things under threat, under duress, in danger, and they're willing to do that, don't ignore them. You don't praise them. You don't lift them to the place of Christ, but you do honor them. You acknowledge your appreciation of them and how they're serving faithfully the cause of Christ and how they serve as role models for others. So now that Paul has given three role models, himself, Timothy, and Epaphroditus, he is now going to switch back to some teaching in chapter 3 and some warnings about some dangers that he's concerned about in the church. Hope you will consider these three examples and follow and honor such people, and have a blessed day.